Mason stepped out into the drizzle, the kind that seeped into your bones without apology, and fumbled the key into the lock. The door swung open to a foyer alive with the hum of underfloor heating and the faint scent of cedar from the reclaimed wood beams. It was all so effortlessly Elena, sleek lines, abstract art from galleries in Pioneer Square, a kitchen island that could double as a runway for her vegan charcuterie boards. He dropped his duffel bag by the leather sectional, the thud echoing too loudly in the silence, and for a moment, he stood there, heart thudding like a bass line in an indie track from his KEXP playlist. How sitting for the family of the woman who signed his paychecks as a junior developer at Hargrove Innovations felt like stepping into a parallel life, one where he wasn't just the quiet guy coding algorithms in the corner, nursing crushes he buried under late-night runs along the waterfront. He wandered into the living room, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city lights smudging the Puget Sound fog. Elena's husband, Tom, was away on a golf retreat in Palm Springs, something about networking with venture capitalists, and their 2 kids, precocious twins off at summer camp in the Cascades, had left the place feeling like a museum exhibit of upper-middle-class bliss. Mason poured himself a glass of the Pinot Noir from the wine fridge, the label promising notes of black cherry and earth, and sank into the couch. His phone buzzed, a text from his roommate back in his cramped Belltown apartment. "Don't burn the place down, Romeo." He smirked, but it faded quick. At 25, Mason's love life was a series of ghosted grindery hookups and awkward brunches that ended in polite fades. The last guy, a barista named Riley with tattoos like watercolor maps, had vanished after Mason dared to suggest they meet his friends. Too real, too soon. Always. The wine warmed his throat as he scrolled through his photos, pausing on one from last Pride, him in a rainbow tank, arms slung around a stranger whose smile had felt like possibility until morning light revealed the cracks. Seattle's queer scene was vibrant, drag brunches at Julia's, leather bars in So-Do, but Mason always lingered on the edges, the observer sketching code and hearts in equal measure. He set the glass down and padded upstairs, claiming the guest room with its king bed and view of the Olympics. Unpacking was ritual, laptop on the nightstand, running shoes by the door, a dog-eared copy of Call Me By Your Name that he pretended not to reread for the ache it stirred. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with rain and code errors, until a distant rumble of thunder, or was it the garage door, jolted him awake at dawn. Downstairs, the coffee maker gurgled to life under his hands, filling the air with roasted beans from the local roastery Elena swore by. He was mid-sip, staring out at the awakening city, when the front door clicked open. Not the dramatic slam of a forgotten umbrella, but a deliberate turn of the lock, followed by the rustle of a suitcase wheel on marble. Mason froze, mug halfway to his lips, as a figure stepped into the foyer, tall, broad-shouldered, with salt and pepper hair cropped close and a jaw that could cut glass. He wore a rumpled button-down in navy, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms corded from years of. What? Sailing? Carpentry? The man paused, shaking rain from his coat, and their eyes met across the open space. "You must be Mason," the voice rumbled, low and gravelly like the sound on a windy day. "Elena's golden boy from the office." "I'm Victor." Her dad. Victor Hargrove extended a hand, calloused and steady, while Mason's mind reeled. Elena's dad? The legendary Victor, the retired architect who designed half the eco-homes dotting the Sound, the one whose photos in Elena's office showed a man who'd aged like whiskey, rugged, unyielding, with eyes the color of storm clouds. At 52, he carried the easy confidence of someone who'd built empires from blueprints and heartbreak, widowed young after his wife's car accident on I-5 a decade ago. Mason shook the hand, feeling the warmth linger, and stammered, "Mr. Hargrove, Victor. I didn't expect. Your flight was early." Victor chuckled, a sound that vibrated through the room like bass from a sub-pop concert. "Delayed twice out of Denver, but I caught a red-eye. Figured I'd surprise the grandkids, but looks like it's just us." He hung his coat on the rack, revealing a frame that filled the space, 6'3", lean muscle under the shirt, the kind earned from hiking the Olympics or chopping wood at his cabin in the San Juans. Mason's pulse skipped, unbidden, as Victor's gaze flicked over him, not appraising, but curious, like studying a new elevation sketch. "Coffee smells good. Mind if I join?" They settled at the island, steam curling between them like unspoken questions. Victor talked easily about the Denver project, a sustainable lodge he'd consulted on, the way the Rockies reminded him of Montana boyhood spent fly fishing with a father too stern for tenderness. Mason listened, nodding, his developer brain mapping the conversation like an API call, inputs of charm, outputs of connection. But beneath it, something stirred, a flicker in Victor's eyes when Mason laughed at a story about Elena as a kid, building forts from his drafting tables. It was the way Victor leaned in, elbows on granite, asking about Mason's work, his life in the city. "Seattle suits you," Victor said, sipping black. "That quiet intensity. Like you're holding back a river." Mason flushed, blaming the caffeine, and deflected with a question about Victor's travels. Hours slipped by in that kitchen alchemy, rain pattering the windows, the world outside a watercolor wash, until Victor stood, stretching, shirt pulling taut. "I'm beat." "Guest room down the hall." Mason pointed, watching him go, the suitcase thumping softly. Alone again, Mason gripped the counter, heart racing like he'd just debugged a crashing app. This was Elena's dad. Off limits. A job. But as he cleared the mugs, Victor's laugh echoed in his head, and for the first time in years, the silence of the house felt charged, electric, alive. That night, Mason lay awake, the guest room walls thin as secrets. Down the hall, Victor's snores were a distant rumble, grounding yet intrusive. He scrolled his phone, thumb hovering over Riley's last message, "We should talk," before locking it away. Instead, he thought of Victor's hands on the mug, steady, capable. Wrong. All wrong. But in the dark, with Seattle's neon bleeding through curtains, Mason let the what ifs bloom, a brush of shoulders in the hallway, a shared glance over breakfast. By morning, the rain had cleared to a tentative sun, and Victor was in the kitchen again, flipping pancakes from a mix Elena kept stocked. "Family tradition," he said, plating one for Mason. "Even if the family's scattered." They ate on the deck, overlooking the hill's terraced gardens, roses heavy with dew, a hammock swaying empty. Victor spoke of loss then, casual as passing syrup, the accident, the years of blueprints to fill the void, Elena's rise as his anchor. "She got my drive, but none of my regrets," he said, eyes on the horizon. Mason shared fragments, his own parents in Spokane, distant after his coming out at 18, the grind of boot camps to escape small-town stares. Victor listened, really listened, his silence a permission to unravel. By noon, they were walking the neighborhood, past coffee carts and bookstores, Victor's arm brushing Mason's in the crowd. Accidental. Electric. Back home, unpacking Victor's suitcase unearthed stories, a sketchbook of half-drawn faces, a faded photo of him and his wife at a Montana lake, young and fierce. Mason lingered in the doorway, drawn by the vulnerability in those lines. "You see people differently," Victor said, catching him. "Like you're piecing them together." Their eyes held, the air thickening, until Victor cleared his throat and closed the book. Dinner was takeout from a Finney Ridge Thai spot, pad see-ew steaming, spring rolls crisp, them cross-legged on the living room rug, a bottle of IPA between. Laughter flowed freer, Victor's knee knocking Mason's, lingering a beat too long. As night fell, Mason retreated to his room, pulse a drumbeat. He stripped to boxers, the mirror reflecting a body honed by gym sessions to outrun doubts, lean, defined, unmarked save for a tattoo on his rib, code your heart. Down the hall, Victor's light flicked off. Mason's hand drifted lower, guilt and want twisting, but he stopped, breath ragged. This was an interlude, a glitch in the matrix. Tomorrow, Elena's texts would remind him, employee, outsider. But in that suspended Seattle midnight, with the house breathing around him, Mason wondered if some bugs were meant to crash the system. The second day dawned with a ferocity Mason hadn't anticipated, a sky bruised purple over the sound, wind whipping the evergreens into frenzy. He woke to the clatter of pans, Victor already at it in the kitchen, humming an old Springsteen tune that spoke of highways and ghosts. Storms rolling in, Victor called, sliding eggs onto plates. Perfect day for staying put. Mason joined him, hair sleep-tousled, wearing the same hoodie from yesterday, now soft with familiarity. Their conversation picked up seamless, like a playlist shuffling back in. Victor asked about Mason's code, not the tech jargon, but the poetry in it, the way algorithms mirrored human messiness. Mason found himself opening up, words spilling like rain off eaves, the thrill of a clean compile, the terror of infinite loops, the loneliness of debugging alone at 3 a.m. They spent the morning in Victor's makeshift office off the foyer, a sunlit nook with drafting tables and shelves of model homes. Victor pulled out old blueprints, sleek lines for a Bainbridge Island retreat, curves echoing the land's whisper. Architecture's like love, he said, pencil scratching vellum. You build with what breaks you. Mason traced the lines with a finger, close enough to catch Victor's scent, cedar cologne mixed with rain-damp wool. The proximity hummed, a low-frequency current, and when their hands brushed over a shared page, neither pulled away immediately. Mason's breath caught, eyes flicking to Victor's profile, the faint scar above his lip from a youthful fall, the way his brow furrowed in concentration. Tell me about the one that got away, Mason ventured, voice lighter than he felt. Victor's pause was a held breath, pencil still. He leaned back, chair creaking, and met Mason's gaze. Her name was Lila. Artist in Portland, back when I was just starting out. We had this cabin in the gorge, wildfires one summer, stars like spilled diamonds the next. Ended because I chose the city, the firm, the life that paid bills but stole sunsets. His voice roughened, edged with gravel. You? Any hearts left sketching in your margins? Mason hesitated, the truth a knot in his throat. A few. Guys who promised code but delivered errors. Last one. He said I was too much anchor, not enough sail. Victor's eyes darkened, not with pity, but recognition. Anchors keep you from drifting. Sails just catch wind till it changes. The storm broke then, thunder cracking like a fault line, rain lashing the windows in sheets. They migrated to the living room, Victor building a fire in the gas hearth, flames dancing shadows across his face. Mason curled on the sectional, knees to chest, while Victor sprawled beside, a blanket draped casual over their laps. Stories unfurled like the fire's warmth, Victor's Montana roots, fishing with a dad who taught silence over sermons, Mason's Spokane childhood, hiding crushes in comic books, coming out to a mother who hugged tighter than words. Laughter bridged the gaps, Victor's mimic of Elena's teenage goth phase, Mason's tale of a disastrous office holiday party where he spiked the eggnog too strong. But beneath, currents pulled, Victor's hand resting on the cushion inches from Mason's thigh, the way his gaze lingered on Mason's mouth during a pause. Afternoon blurred into a movie marathon, indie flicks from Criterion Channel, moonlight first, its hues of blue and ache mirroring the room's dim. Victor commented soft on the father's redemption, his voice thick, we all chase that, don't we? Fixing what we broke too late. Mason nodded, throat tight, the film's intimacy echoing his own buried longings. When credits rolled, silence settled heavy, broken only by the fire's pop. Victor shifted, blanket slipping, his knee pressing firm against Mason's. No retreat. Mason's pulse thrummed, heat pooling low, and he turned, words failing, to find Victor watching him, not as Elena's employee, but as a man, raw and real. Mason, Victor murmured, name a question, a confession. Their lips met tentative, a brush like testing wind direction, soft, seeking, tasting of coffee and unspoken years. Victor's hand cupped Mason's jaw, thumb tracing the line of stubble, while Mason's fingers tangled in salt-pepper hair, pulling closer. The kiss deepened, hungry now, tongues mapping territories long charted alone. Victor tasted of regret and rain, his body yielding yet commanding as he drew Mason atop him, blanket forgotten. Hands roamed, Victor's under the hoodie, palm flat on Mason's back, tracing spine like rebar in concrete, Mason's at Victor's belt, fumbling the buckle, the clink lost in gasps. They broke for air, foreheads pressed, breaths mingling. This. We shouldn't, Mason whispered, even as his body arched into Victor's touch. Or we should, Victor replied, voice wrecked, eyes fierce. Life's too short for blueprints that don't fit. They tumbled to the rug, clothes shedding like old skins, hoodie tossed, shirt unbuttoned to reveal Victor's chest, silvered hair trailing to a line vanishing into jeans. Mason's mouth followed, kisses trailing collarbone, nipple hardening under tongue. Victor groaned, hand fisting Mason's hair, guiding without force. Jeans pulled at ankles, boxers shoved down, and there, Victor's arousal, thick and insistent, against Mason's thigh. Mason palmed him, stroke slow, eliciting a hiss that vibrated through them both. Victor flipped them, pinning Mason with weight that felt like shelter, mouth claiming neck, shoulder, the tattoo on rib, code your heart, he read, lips brushing ink. Already did. The storm outside raged, but inside, it was cataclysm, Victor's fingers slick with spit, probing, preparing, as Mason writhed, please wordless. Entry was slow, Victor's body sheathing in inch by inch, stretch burning sweet into ecstasy. They moved as one, rhythm building like a crescendo in a Seattle symphony, deep thrusts, hips snapping, sweat-slick skin sliding. Mason's nails dug crescents into Victor's back, cries muffled in the crook of neck, while Victor's whispers anchored, beautiful. Mine. Climax shattered them, waves crashing, Mason spilling hot between them, Victor following with a guttural roar buried in shoulder. They collapsed, tangled, hearts hammering duet. After, in firelight's glow, reality crept like cooling embers. Victor traced lazy circles on Mason's chest, but his eyes held shadows. Elena's family. Your boss. Mason nodded, throat raw. A complication in the code. They dressed slow, kisses lingering like aftershocks, and retreated to separate rooms as night deepened. Mason lay staring at ceiling beams, body sated but mind churning, lines crossed, firewalls breached. What now? The house, once empty echo, pulsed with their secret, and as rain eased to drizzle, Mason wondered if foundations could shift without crumbling. Morning brought awkward grace, coffee poured wordless, glances loaded. Victor suggested a drive, to clear heads, the winding road to Discovery Park, salt air whipping through open windows. They walked trails lined with madrones, bark peeling like confessions, hands brushing accidental on purpose. At the lighthouse, overlooking Straits to Bainbridge, Victor stopped, turning Mason to face him. Last night. It wasn't impulse. Been feeling it since I walked in, so you there, real in my daughter's house. Mason's heart clenched, hope warring fear. Me too. But Elena, Victor silenced him with a kiss, fierce under gulls' cries. We'll figure the syntax. Back home, normalcy fractured further, a call from Elena, voice crackling from Austin, Dad there yet? Kids miss him. Victor's reply smooth, but his free hand squeezed Mason's under the island. Dinner was collaborative, Victor grilling salmon from Pike Place, Mason chopping herbs, their hips bumping choreographed. Bed that night was shared, guest room door ajar, bodies entwining slower, exploratory, Victor's mouth on Mason's length, patient, reverent, drawing moans like blueprints from blank page. Reciprocation tentative, Mason's lips stretching around Victor, the taste salt and power, until Victor pulled him up, entering face to face, eyes locked in vulnerability. Stay, Victor breathed post-climax, arm banded tight. Mason did, dawn finding them woven, but whispers of tomorrow loomed, Elena's return in days, the world's return to lines. By the third day, the house in Capitol Hill had transformed from sterile showcase to sanctuary, every corner imprinted with their unfolding intimacy. Mason woke to Victor's mouth on his shoulder, lazy kisses tracing the map of last night's explorations, the sheets tangled like half-written code. Morning, architect, Mason murmured, rolling into the embrace, their bodies fitting now like dovetailed joints, Victor's broader frame enveloping, Mason's lean line slotting perfect. They lingered in bed, hands wandering unhurried, Victor's fingers circling Mason's entrance, teasing remnants of lube and memory, until arousal stirred anew. This time, it was Mason atop, straddling, guiding Victor in with a shared gasp that fogged the window overlooking the waking neighborhood. Movement was languid, waves rather than storm, hips circling in sync with birdsong from the garden. Victor's hands gripped Mason's thighs, thumbs pressing bruises like signatures, while Mason braced on chest, riding the rhythm toward release, his first, spilling across Victor's abdomen, followed by Victor's arch and flood deep within. They showered together after, water cascading in the rainfall head, steam veiling the glass. Soap-slick hands explored, Victor lathering Mason's back, fingers dipping low to cleanse and caress, Mason on knees, water sheeting face, taking Victor to throat with devotion that drew growls echoing off tile. Clean and spent, they dressed, Victor in chinos and a Henley that hugged his torso, Mason in jeans and a flannel soft from Capitol Hill thrift shops, and headed out for breakfast at a Queen and Cafe, the kind with mismatched mugs and avocado toast that Elena would approve. Over lattes frothed with oat milk, conversation danced around the precipice, Victor sharing blueprints of a never-built home in the San Juans, a queer commune dream from his closeted 20s, Mason admitting the grindry ghosts, the fear of being the phase in straight-passing worlds. The day unfolded in stolen freedoms, a ferry to Bainbridge, salt spray stinging cheeks as they leaned on rails, shoulders touching. Victor bought Mason a sketchpad from a waterfront shop, for your own lines, and on the beach, they drew, waves crashing, each other's profiles in charcoal smudges. Laughter bubbled when Mason's attempt at Victor's jaw came out angular as rebar, Victor retaliating with a caricature of Mason's tousled hair as a cyberpunk mohawk. But under the sun's rare pierce, shadows lengthened, Victor's phone buzzing with Elena's update, "Back Thursday, Dad." Tell Mason the cats need feeding, a reminder of timelines ticking. Mason felt it like a compiler error, the if-then crashing against there now. Evening brought conflict's first whisper. Back in the house, sorting mail on the island, Mason unearthed a photo from a stack, Elena's wedding to Tom, Victor in the background, arm around a younger man, blonde, lithe, eyes crinkled in joy. "Who's that?" Mason asked, casual as pouring wine, but heart-pitching. Victor's face tightened, cork popping forgotten. "Jude. Partner, back when Elena was in college. We kept it quiet, firm politics, her future. He left when the hiding wore him down. Said I built walls instead of bridges." The admission hung, raw as exposed wiring. Mason set the photo down, empathy twisting with jealousy. "You regret it?" Victor's eyes met his, stormy. "Every blueprint since. But you're no wall, Mason. You're the view." They made love that night on the deck chaise, twilight draping them in indigo, the city a distant hum. Victor entered from behind, spooned close, thrusts deep and deliberate, one hand stroking Mason in tandem, the other muffling cries against neck. Release came synchronized, bodies shuddering into the cooling air, but post-coital haze shattered when Victor's phone lit, a text from an old colleague, "Heard you're in Seattle. Jude's in town, dinner?" Victor silenced it, but Mason saw, the name a splinter. In bed later, tangled limbs, Mason pressed, "Go if you want. Old flames don't fade like ink." Victor's hold tightened, possessive. Jude was yesterday's line. "You're the one I want to draw forever." Sleep evaded Mason, mind looping scenarios, Victor's past lovers, Elena's discovery, the fallout of Forbidden Code. Dawn found him in the kitchen, brewing pour-over, when Victor appeared, pulling him into a wall kiss that bruised lips, hands pinning wrists. "No ghosts," Victor growled, dropping to knees, mouth enveloping Mason right there, countertop digging hip. It was urgent, reclaiming, tongue swirling, throat taking deep, until Mason buckled, spilling with a sob that echoed regret and relief. Victor rose, kissing evidence away. "We're writing this our way." The day veered toward normalcy's edge, grocery run to Whole Foods in Fremont, Victor pushing cart while Mason selected heirloom tomatoes, their fingers linking brief in produce aisle. Home, they cooked, cock auvin simmering, Victor's arm around waist as Mason chopped. But tension simmered too, bubbling over dinner when Victor confessed more, the bisexuality buried under straight-laced facades, affairs in Denver that left him hollow, the ache after Lila's death turning inward. "I built for others, forgot my own foundation." Mason listened, fork paused, seeing the cracks in the man he'd idolized through Elena's stories. "Then let me help rebuild." Night deepened the intimacy, but betrayal's seed sprouted subtle. In Victor's office, rifling for a forgotten charger, Mason found emails, Jude's correspondence, recent, laced with nostalgia, "Miss our designs, Vic coffee while you're here." Heart sinking, Mason pocketed the phone, doubt gnawing. Confrontation came soft, over scotch in the library nook, his reaching out. Victor sighed, head in hands. Old habit. But I deleted the thread. Choose you. The kiss that followed was desperate, clothes shed frantic, Victor bending Mason over the drafting table, entering hard, papers scattering like leaves. Pace was punishing, each thrust a punctuation, mine, now, always, climax ripping cries from throats. Yet as they panted, afterglow tainted, Mason wondered if foundations could truly shift without fault lines. Thursday loomed, Elena's return a horizon line, but Wednesday gifted one last unclaimed day. They drove to the San Juan's ferry, renting kayaks on Orcas Island, paddles slicing emerald waters. In a cove, beachcombing, Victor pulled Mason close, waves lapping ankles. If this were my blueprint, he trailed, sketching hearts in sand. Mason leaned in, build it. The return ferry ride was sunset-kissed, heads on shoulder, but Mason's phone buzzed, roommates warning, Elena's posting from airport. Heads up. Reality's approach chilled the warmth. Home, they clung longer, love-making a ritual, slow undress, mouths worshipping scars and ink, Victor inside missionary, gazes unbreakable, whispers of stay, fight, love. Sleep claimed them entwined, but Mason dreamed of crumbling bridges, waking to Victor's steady breath, the precipice near. Elena's return fractured the fragile architecture they'd erected, her key turning in the lock like a verdict at dawn. Mason was in the kitchen, nursing black coffee, when the door swung wide, Elena, windswept from the red-eye, twins tumbling in behind with camp duffels and shrieks of "Grandpa!" Victor emerged from the hallway, scooping the kids into bear hugs, his grin broad but eyes flicking to Mason with a coded plea, act normal. Elena kissed her father, then turned, arms open. Mason! Survived Dad's chaos? Thanks for holding the fort. Her hug was brisk, scented with airport Chanel, oblivious to the undercurrent swirling like undertow. The morning devolved into domestic whirl, twins demanding pancakes, Elena unpacking while quizzing Victor on Denver tales, Mason relegated to side character, refilling juices, folding laundry, his developer poise a shield. But proximity tortured, Victor's foot nudging his under the table, a brushed hand passing plates, glances loaded across the chaos. Elena noticed nothing, chattering about Austin panels on AI ethics, but invited Mason to stay for lunch, earned it, kid, trapping him in the web. Over salads of arugula and goat cheese from the Hills farm stand, conversation veered personal, Elena teasing Victor about his bachelor cabin vibes, Victor deflecting with a wink at Mason that Elena missed but burned like code comment. // secret here. Afternoon brought escape itch. Mason begged off for a run, along Broadway's bustle, past rainbow flags fluttering in breeze, heart pounding harder from proximity than pace. He dated to Cal Anderson Park, collapsing on grass under madronis, phone in hand. Text from Victor, miss you already. Balcony tonight? Temptation ward caution, he typed risky, deleted, sent yes. Back home, the house thrummed with family, twins' laughter echoing board games, Elena on calls. Dinner was Elena's domain, grilled halibut with fennel, wine flowing freer. Mason sat opposite Victor, knees brushing covert, the contact a lifeline in small talk see. Elena's eye sharpened once, you two seemed thick as thieves, but laughed it off as office rapport. Nightfall cloaked their rebellion. With Elena tucking twins and crashing early from jet lag, Mason slipped to the balcony off the master suite, glass railing overlooking twinkling Seattle, city lights a constellation of what ifs. Victor joined minutes later, door clicking soft, pulling Mason into shadows. Couldn't breathe without this, he murmured, mouth claiming in kiss that tasted of desperation, tongues urgent, hands fumbling belts. They didn't dare full undress, just enough, jeans shoved to thighs, Victor pressing Mason to railing, fingers slicking quick before thrusting in, the city backdrop blurring. It was fast, furtive, hips snapping muffled, Mason biting lip to silence moans, Victor's hand over mouth, other stroking in rhythm. Climax hit like suppressed thunder, bodies quaking, release spilling hot and hidden. They straightened clothes, breaths ragged, Victor's forehead to Mason's, this isn't end. It's intermission. But dawn's light exposed fissures. Mason woke to Elena in the kitchen, coffee brewing, her expression casual yet probing. Dad says you're a wizard with apps. Ever think consulting? Opportunity-laced trap, Mason nodded, but her next words landed like debug halt, heard you two kayaked orcas. Bold, with storms brewing. Jealousy? No, curiosity, Elena's radar for undercurrents honed by boardrooms. Mason deflected, but unease seeded. Victor, sensing, pulled Elena aside for father-daughter walk, leaving Mason with twins' Lego empire, building towers that toppled like his resolve. Midday fractured further, Tom's arrival from Palm Springs, his salesman charm filling the space, backslaps for Victor, nod to Mason as the help. Barbecue on the deck ensued, ribs smoking, IPAs cracking, stories of golf greens and tech deals. Mason hovered peripheral, grilling veggies for Elena's vegan pivot, but Victor's eyes tracked him, a magnetic pull. Under pretense of fetching ice, Victor cornered him in pantry, quick kiss, hand cupping through jeans. Tonight, Victor breathed. Mason nodded, fire low, but Tom's voice boomed, Mason, join us for poker. Yanking him back to orbit. Evening's poker game was agony, cards found on glass table, bets rising with laughter, Victor's foot hooking Mason's ankle under guise of stretch. Elena folded early, twins to bed, leaving the men, Tom bluffing loud, Victor's poker face cracking with stolen glances. Win went to Victor, pot of quarters he donated to Mason's rainy day. Bedtime scattered them, but midnight called, Mason feigning insomnia, padding to guest bath, Victor materializing like smoke. They met in the linen closet, cramped, absurd, clothes hiked, Victor lifting Mason against shelves, entering swift, towels muffling grunts. It was reckless, raw, thrusts erratic, climax chased in whispers, but as Victor spilled, a floorboard creaked upstairs. They froze, heart slamming, separating in panic. Guilt crashed post, Mason alone in bed, sheets cold, replaying the creak, was it twin wandering? Elena? Dawn brought accusation's shadow. Over breakfast scramble, Elena pulled Mason aside in the garden, roses nodding heavy. Dad's glowing. Haven't seen him like this since. Well, ever post, Mom. Pride swelled, then plummeted at her tilt, be careful. He's got walls, but you're young, don't get bricked in. Not suspicion, warning, maternal, protective. Mason murmured thanks, gut twisting. Victor caught his eye across patio, question in brow, Mason forced smile, but fracture line spidered. The day devolved into family outing, Pike Place thrown together, market's chaos a balm. Salmon tossing, flower stalls bursting, Victor's hand grazing Mason's in crowd, accidental to all but them. At a chowder stand, Jude appeared, fate's cruel insert, blonde hair catching light, hug for Victor lingering. Vic! Elena tipped me off. Elena's beam, old family friend. Jude's eyes flicked to Mason, neutral, but Victor stiffened. Lunch joined, Jude's tales of Portland galleries weaving nostalgia, Victor's laughs forced. Mason excused to waterfront, staring ferries, jealousy a tide pulling under. Victor found him, nothing. Past tense. Kiss hidden by pillar, but Jude's way from afar soured it. Home, tension peaked, Elena's call to Tom in den, voices rising over budget, tech slump, Tom's opportunities in sales. Victor retreated to office, Mason following under male pretext. Door shut, they collided, kiss bruising, Victor's desk clearing in sweep, Mason bent over vellum stacks, entered fierce, papers crunching. Pace was anger's outlet, thrusts punishing self and other, Victor's hand fisting hair, Mason pushing back, cries bitten. Release shattered, but tears followed, Victor's, silent on shoulder. Can't lose this. Can't lose her. Mason held him, heartbreaking symmetric. Night cloaked deeper betrayal. Jude texted Victor, great seeing you. Doors open if dot, seen by Mason in accidental glimpse. Confrontation brewed soft, block him. Victor did, but doubt lingered like smoke. They made love tender in Victor's room, Elena out late with Tom, bodies slow, exploratory, Victor's mouth mapping every inch, fingers curling inside to prostate spark, Mason reciprocating with lips and tongue until Victor begged. Entry missionary, gazes vulnerable, but as climax crested, Elena's car hummed drive, early return. They parted slick and sated, secret heavier. Crisis brewed overnight, Mason's phone, left charging in kitchen, lit with roommates' text, pics of you and hot dad. Spill, innocent gossip, but Elena, up for water, saw. Morning confrontation, her office, door shut, eyes steel. What's this, Mason? Dad. Denial crumbled under her stare, confession spilled, nights, feelings, the pull. Elena's face cycled shock to fury, he's my father. You're my employee. This ends now. Ultimatum, resign or expose. Mason left shaken, running to park, rain starting anew. Victor called frantic, she knows. Plan fracturing. Betrayal's knife twisted, not just Elena's, but the world's assumption their love was glitch, not feature. The downpour that afternoon mirrored the deluge in Mason's soul, sheets of rain blurring Capitol Hill into impressionist haze as he pounded pavement from Elena's house to his Belltown walk up. Each step splashed regret, Victor's last text burning pocket, meet at the cabin. San Juan's Ferry, 6 p.m. We fix this. But fix how? Elena's words echoed, family first, always, a firewall he'd crashed through, now sparking backlash. His apartment loomed, a third-floor showbox with exposed brick and views of the monorail's rattle, roommate out at shift, leaving silence to amplify the churn. Mason stripped wet clothes, toweling hair, staring mirror self, eyes red-rimmed, tattoo mocking, code your heart, yeah, and watch it compile errors. Phone calls piled, Victor's voicemails, gravel voice cracking, I love you, kid. Fight with me, Elena's curt text, resignation on my desk Monday, or HR gets the story. No middle ground, no beta test. Mason paced, brewery's neon flickering window, mind-looping flashbacks, Victor's hands building him up, kiss under gulls, the way home had tasted on tongue. At 25, he'd coded startups from dorms, outrun Spokane shadows, but this, love-defying hierarchies, felt like prime directive breach. He packed a go-bag, essentials, sketchpad from AUKUS, the photo of Victor and Lila he'd swiped, talisman against ghosts. Ferry terminal thrummed with commuters, salt air thick, Mason boarding last minute, ticket scanner beeping judgment. The crossing to Friday Harbor was turmoil, waves rocking deck, stomach pitching with doubt. What if Elena followed? What if Victor chose blood over blueprint? Cabin keys waited in glove box of Victor's rented SUV, rugged Subaru, mud-splattered from San Juan trails. The drive wound through Douglas firs, gravel crunching under tires, to Victor's off-grid retreat, A-frame perched on bluff, walls of cedar and glass overlooking Harrow Strait, AUKUS distant spouts like punctuation in dusk. Victor waited on porch, fire crackling hearth visible through window, flannel shirt open at throat, face-etched worry. No words at first, just embrace, crushing, rain-mingling tears. Inside, warmth enveloped, stone floors heated, kitchen island strewn with take-out clams from town, bottle of Montana Red breathing. They ate mechanical, forks scraping plates, until Victor broke, she told me everything. Blamed herself for inviting me, for not seeing. His hand covered Mason's, steady. I told her it's mine. Ours. She hung up, but. She's family. The but hung, blade unsheathed. Mason pulled away, standing to window, straight dark now. And I'm the intruder code. Delete and deploy clean. Victor's approach was thunder, arms banding from behind, chin on shoulder. Never. Elena's processing, hurt, protective. But she knows me, the man I hid even from her. After your mom died, I vowed no more half-lives. Kissed her neck, soft, then firmer, hands sliding under shirt to trace ribs. Mason turned, yielding, their mouths meeting in reclamation, tongues slow, exploratory, tasting salt of unshed tears. Clothes shed piecemeal, flannel to floor, jeans kicked aside, bodies bare in firelight. Victor lifted him to island, cool granite shocking skin, mouth trailing chest to navel, then lower, lips enveloping, tongue circling head before taking deep, throat contracting around length. Mason's fingers fisted hair, hips bucking involuntary, moans echoing A-frames, beams. Victor. Please. Reciprocation in hearth rug, Mason on knees, Victor's arousal heavy on tongue, veins pulsing as he sucked deliberate, hand stroking base, eyes up locked, vulnerability mirrored. Victor groaned, pulling away before edge, drawing Mason to lap, legs draped. Entry was eye contact ritual, slick fingers first, curling to spark, then Victor sliding in, inch by gasp, filling complete. Rhythm built emotional, thrusts deep, grinding, hands interlaced, whispers weaving, love you, stay, build. Climax cascaded, Mason first, clenching around Victor, pulling his release in waves, bodies shuddering unison. After, wrapped in quilt, fire dying embers, crisis deepened. Victor's phone lit, Elena's call, answered on speaker. Her voice fractured, Dad, this is insane. Mason's resigning, fine, but you. Him? After Jude, after everything. Victor's hold tightened. Jude was escape. Mason's home. Silence stretched, Elena's sob breaking. I just want you happy. But he's young, Dad. What if, Victor cut gentle, what if it's real? Click. Mason's chest ached, Elena's pain a mirror to his own past rejections. She'll come around, Victor murmured, but doubt shadowed. Dawn brought action's demand, hike to cliff overlook, packs light with coffee thermos, trails slick from night rain. Air crisp, eagles wheeling, they walked hand in hand, unchallenged here. At Vista, overlooking Canada's mist-shrouded shores, Victor knelt, not proposal, but pledge, this land's mine, unentailed. Build with me? Not just walls, a life. Mason's yes choked, kiss ceiling, but hike down twisted ankle, Victor's, minor sprain, forcing rest. Cabin nursing turned intimate, ice on joint, Mason's mouth distracting elsewhere, slow blowjob evolving to 69, mutual devouring till release painted skin. Laughter followed, absurd joy in pain. But betrayal's storm hit midday, Jude's arrival, uninvited, ferrotimed, checking on old friend, Elena's inadvertent tip. He knocked as they lunched, blonde charm undimmed, eyes widening at Mason's disheveled state. Interrupting. Jude quipped, but tension crackled. Victor stiff, inviting in curt, coffee poured awkward, Jude's gaze appraising Mason like rival blueprint. Stories flowed, Portland's queer art scene, shared memories with Victor that stung, Monte Gorge cabins, designs drawn in bed. Mason excused to deck, rain starting, jealousy churning gut. Victor followed, he's leaving. Past. But Jude's linger, hug at door lingering, sowed seed. Evening confrontation, Jude's text to Victor, his cute, but fleeting. Call when ready for real, intercepted by Mason. Rage boiled, real? After this? Victor deleted, but argument erupted, words flying like splintered vellum, Mason's youth weaponized, Victor's history a haunt. You choose ghosts over now? Mason yelled, storming to loft bedroom. Victor pursued, apology in chase, pinning Mason to bed in fury's turn, kiss aggressive, clothes ripped, Victor entering rough, thrusts channeling conflict, Mason meeting force with arch, nails raking back. It was cathartic violence, climax tearing screams, bodies collapsing spent. No choices, Victor panted. Only you. Healing's thread wove fragile, midnight stargazing from hot tub, jets bubbling bruises, Jude's spectre fading in steam. Victor confessed full, bisexuality's closet post-Lila, Jude's exit scarring, Elena's unknowing shield. Mason shared Spokane scars, father's silence, mother's tentative bridge. Dawn ferry back, hands linked hidden, Seattle skyline welcoming yet wary. Elena's email waited, talk. My office, tomorrow. No ultimatums. Hope flickered, but crisis peaked at Doc, Tom's call to Victor, overheard, heard about the boy. Keep it quiet, for Elena's sake. Betrayal doubled, family's complicity. Mason's resolve hardened, resign, but not vanish. Love's code demanded debug, not delete. Seattle's relentless drizzle greeted their return like an old grudge, smearing the windshield as Victor navigated Capitol Hill curves, ankle-braced but grip firm on wheel. Mason's hand rested on thigh, thumb circling denim seam, a silent Morse, "We're in this compile." The house loomed, Elena's Prius in drive, a beacon of impending reckoning. Inside, air thick with unsaid, twins at school, Tom at office, Elena in living room, laptop closed, tea steaming like truce flag. Her eyes, Hargrove steel softened by red rims, flicked between them. "Sit," she said, voice even. No accusations, just raw, "Dad, I get lost love. Mom's ghost. But Mason's my world too. This blurs lines." Victor knelt by her chair, hand on knee, father to daughter, not lover to man. "Lines we redraw, L. He's not blur, his clarity." Mason stood peripheral, heart hammering, until Elena gestured couch. Words tumbled, Elena's fear of losing anchor, Victor's vow of transparency, Mason's quiet pledge, "I'll step back from work, if it heals this." Elena's nod reluctant, but fracture mended tentative, hug encompassing all three, tears salting cheeks. "Slow," she warned. "Family first, but..." "Happy dad?" "That's new code." Laughter broke, brittle but binding, over shared tea that tasted like olive branch. Afternoon gifted space, Elena to pick up, Victor and Mason to kitchen, bodies colliding in release rush, counter perch, Victor's mouth on neck, hands unbuckling. "Claim you here," Victor growled, jeans pooling, entering standing, Mason's legs wrapped waist, thrusts lifting off floor. It was victorious, deep, celebrating, climax spilling joint, pants ragged. Clean up hasty, but afterglow hummed as Elena returned, oblivious, announcing dinner out, neutral ground. Evening at Salumi in Pioneer Square, cured meats, house red, toasts to new chapters. Elena's probes gentle, Mason's dreams beyond code, Victor's cabin expansions, building bridges verbal. Night deepened intimacies return, guest room now theirs tacit, door locked, Elena's knowing wink at hall pass. They undress slow, fire relit in basin, Victor on back, Mason straddling face first, grinding to tongues delve, then sliding down to impale, riding with control, hands pinned overhead. Victor's groans urged, hips bucking up, until flip, missionary fierce, legs over shoulders, penetration profound, gazes breaking only at climaxes shatter. Post, whispers wove futures, Mason freelancing from cabin, Victor mentoring designs, Elena's blessing tentative weave. But betrayal's echo resounded next dawn, Jude's package at door, sketches from Montana days, note, for old times. Ignore the noise. Victor burned it half, but ash lingered metaphor. Workday pulled Mason to office, final days pre-resign, Elena's desk chat ceiling, freelance for us? Off books, family rate. Relief flooded, but Tom's sidelong in hall, careful, kid. Dad's phase, knife twist. Mason confronted Victor at lunch, cafe in Belltown, Tom knows. Poisoned? Victor's face thunder, no. Protective idiocy. Argument simmered, cooled in walk to waterfront, Olympic ferry horns calling, hands linked bold now. Crisis crested evening, family dinner home, Tom's golf tails turning snide, modern families, huh? All fluid now. Elena's rebuke sharp, but damage dealt, Mason excusing early, run to clear head. Victor followed to park, bench under lamps, his wrong. Your foundation. Kiss public, defiant, but Mason's doubt voiced, what if I'm glitch in your straight legacy? Victor's hold crushed, legacies you. Home, love-making mended, bath shared, bubbles foaming, Victor's fingers scissoring prep underwater, then lift to edge, entering slow, water sloshing rhythm. Orgasms rippled, wave sinking, afterglow in towels, Tom's car departing late, golf emergency. Healing accelerated, weekend escape to cabin, Elena minding house. Ferry crossing sun-blessed, orcas breaching salute. A-frame alive with them, hikes to lime kilns, sketches shared, nights in king bed overlooking strait. One eve, storm-ravaged, power out, candles gutter, Victor's body heat soul source, love-making primal, on fur rug, doggy deep, Victor's hand around throat light, trust absolute, release howling wind match. Dawn yoga on deck, bodies flowing, transition seamless to union, lotus position, eye lock meditative, climax serene as tide. Return Monday, Mason's resignation tendered, Elena's counter, part-time consult, family. Tom's absence golf prolonged eased. But deeper conflict brewed, Victor's doc appointment, routine but revealing arthritis in hands, designer's dread. Mason at side, holding post-exam, Victor's vulnerability crack, can't build forever. Mason's balm, build us. Evening therapy, Victor's first, queer affirmative in Capitol Hill, Mason waiting cafe, then home to celebrate courage, strap tentative, Mason donning harness, entering Victor slow, role reverse empowering, Victor's moans discovery, climax mutual hand stroked. Climax of week, Elena's dinner invite, Jude included, closure. Table tense, Jude's charm disarmed, stories light, but eyes on Victor wistful. Mason's hand under table anchor, Elena's toast, to redraws. Post, Jude's private word to Mason, he's yours. Cherish. Betrayal alchemized forgiveness. Night sealed, four-poster tangle, Victor inside, then out, frottage slick, mouths fused, release painting chests, sleep in afterglow. Yet crisis lingered shadow, Victor's ex-colleague email, firm offer, Denver return, legacy secure. Temptations pull, stability over risk. Mason sensed, confrontation soft over wine, choose heart's code. Victor's tear, you are. But doubt's worm gnawed, nights restless, love-making urgent, positions exploratory, Victor bound wrists playful, trust tested, ecstasy-laced edge. Healing's arc bent, volunteer day at Queer Youth Center, Mason coding apps, Victor mentoring builds. Elena joined, twins painting rainbows, family mosaic forming. One night, storm fierce, power fail, board games by lantern, Tom's absence noted, Elena's whisper to Mason, thanks for him back. Intimacy post, loft, Victor's mouth worship, then ride reverse, Mason's control, climax viewing stars through skylight. But betrayal's final strike, Tom's leak to HR whisper, inappropriate relations, Elena's fury at husband, divorce papers drawn dawn. Chaos, Tom fleeing to motel, Elena's breakdown, Victor's mediation. Mason held fort, coffee runs, but heart cracked, family's fault line his trigger. Run to sound, waves crashing fury, Victor finding, not your burden. Embrace salt-soaked, home to bed, slow, healing, mutual oral marathon, edges teased, release denied till begged, then flood. Sleep vowed, together debug. The fallout from Tom's betrayal rippled through the Hargrove orbit like a seismic aftershock, cracking facades long polished smooth. Elena's divorce filing hit like a tabloid splash in their insular world, whispers at tech mixers, Victor fielding calls from old firm contacts, Mason navigating freelance gigs from the cabin's drafting table, his laptop humming beside Victor's vellum. Capitol Hill house became war zone, movers hauling Tom's golf clubs, Elena purging closets with wine-fueled resolve, twins shuttled to counselors in gentle Fremont offices. Mason inserted cautious, grocery drops, kid pickups, his presence a quiet rebar in the rebuild. Victor's eyes, when they met over chaos, held gratitude laced with where you steady us. Week blurred in triage, Elena's late-night scripting boardroom defenses, Victor's hands aching but sketching tiny homes for displaced youth, Mason coding an app for queer support networks, chat lines anonymous, resources mapped like Seattle's light rail. One evening, post-mover dust, Elena collapsed on sectional, mascara streaked, he knew about us, Dad. Used it like ammo. Victor's arm around her, Mason opposite, offering tissues boxed from drugstore run. Ammo misfires, Mason said soft. You're the Arsenal now. Her laugh choked, hand squeezing his, poet coda. Stay for this mess. Invitation unspoken, family, not employee. Healing's rhythm steadied, group hike in Discovery Park, Elena leading with twins on trails, Victor's ankle mended full, Mason snapping photos on vintage Laker borrowed from cabin shelf. Lunch at beach picnic, sandwiches from Macrina, thermos of chowder, stories shifting from fracture to foundation, Elena's college queer ally days, unknown to them, Victor's Montana uncle, closeted mentor long buried. Twins built driftwood forts, oblivious joy, while adults wove truths. Back home, Elena's toast over takeout, to lines redrawn, no erasers. Eyes met Mason's, seal. Intimacy with Victor deepened private, cabin weekends, A-frame sanctuary. One fog-shrouded morn, wake to orca calls echoing straight, Mason's mouth waking Victor slow, lips trailing thigh to center, tongue laving deliberate, drawing gasps till Victor flipped, entering spooned, lazy thrust sinking breath, climax warming sheets. Afternoons kayaking coves, evenings hot tub confessions, Victor's arthritis flare, fear of obsolescence, Mason's freelance dry spell, imposter echoes from Spokane. Lovemaking mended, oils warmed, massage evolving to penetration gentle, Victor inside, then harness reverse, equalities dance, releases whispered vows. Crisis's shadow lifted gradual, Elena's promotion announcement, Hargrove Innovations ethics lead, her moral code vindicated. Tom's settlement quiet, alimony and absence. Jude's final postcard, Portland thriving. Wishing blueprints bold, framed in Victor's office, ghost exorcised. Mason's app launched beta, download spiking at youth center, validations code clean. Family dinner weekly now, Elena's vegan twists, twins antics, Victor's toasts gravel warm. One night, post-feast, Elena pulled Mason porch, you saved him. Us. Kissed a cheek, maternal now. But emotional Nadia struck autumn's turn, Victor's dock confirming progression, hands dexterity waning, designs digital forced. Cabin night, fire roaring, Victor's confession cracked, can't draw like before. What's left? Mason's hold fierce, us. Teach, consult, your eyes the gift. Tears fell, Victor's first unguarded, Mason kissing salt, let me hold you. Bed that eve was solace, mutual frottage, bodies aligned, friction building slow, hands interlaced, climax shared in shudder, after whispers, adapt the blueprint. Healing's crescendo built, holiday approach, Thanksgiving planned cabin, Elena, twins, no Tom. Prep frenzy, turkey brined, pies baked, Mason's code pausing for cleaver chops. Storm hit eve, power flickering, but generator hummed, family gathered hearth. Story circled, Lila's recipes, Elena's Austin epiphany, twins camp ghosts busted. Midnight, adults on deck bundled, stars pricking clouds, Mason and Victor hand clasped, Elena's nod approval. Family's fluid, she said. Like good code. Post-holiday, romances bloom, winter solstice getaway, Orca's cabin extension, hot spring soak, body submerged, Victor's fingers tracing Mason's tattoo underwater, arousal stirring steam. Union in tub, Mason astride, water lapping, rhythm hypnotic, climax rippling surface. New Year's dawn, bluff vista, Victor's pledge ring, simple tungsten, engraved our line, slipped on Mason's finger. Build forever? Mason's yes, kiss ceiling, Elena's text, proud. Brunch Sunday? Spring thawed final scars, Elena's dating app swipes, hopeful, twins pride float plans, rainbows riot. Victor's adaptive designs, voiced a sketch software, Mason's code gift, exhibited at AIA Gala, applause thundering. After party loft, Mason's toast, to architects of heart. Dance floor slow, Victor pulling close, sway intimate, hands low on hips, home later to bed, celebratory, Victor bound playful, Mason topping with care, thrusts measured, Victor's release arched, then switch, equality's ecstasy. Summer's arc closed circle, 1 year mark, house sit anniversary, now home shared, Capitol Hill A-frame expanded. Elena's blessing dinner, twins flower crowned, Uncle Mason. Vows exchanged bluff, sunset gilding straight, Orcus witness. In glitches and gold, Victor murmured, ring renewed. Lovemaking night, all positions savored, oral devotion, entries varied, climaxes cascading, bodies testament. Life's code ran steady, freelance booms, designs voiced eternal, family woven unbreakable. Mason's gaze on Victor, salt pepper eternal, knew, love wasn't bug-free, but debugged daily, human in imperfection. Seattle's rain fell gentle now, nourishing roots they'd planted, queer, resilient, home.